Today on a special Seattle Refined.
This is not just a 2024 highlight of mine, it is an all-time favorite.
We count down our favorite stories and moments of 2024 from ones that'll pull at your heartstrings.
And I remember talking to him and he got so emotional about it, and I got emotional.
To ones that will have your heart pounding.
I was a shell of myself when I came out of that morgue.
Plus, we tell you what really happens behind the scenes.
Ty and I packed as much as we could into 24 hours on the island.
Get ready to look back and laugh. Seattle Refined starts now.
Hi everybody, welcome to a special edition of Seattle Refined. I'm Gard Swanson, and this is the Seattle Refined team. Yay! Now today is kind of a difficult show. This is Jenna Lukeman, she's our executive producer. We look back at 2024 at our best stories, but where do we start? Where do we begin?
We have done so many amazing stories this year, and we want to kind of count down and give you some of our favorites, but this year's very special for our episode because for the first time ever, we have our longtime editor, Tree, joining us. Just for a little bit. Now, he doesn't really like being in front of the camera as much, but we wanted you to see him. He's the one that puts together all the amazing, beautiful Seattle Refined shows that you see on air. So, Tree, you are more than welcome to stay or go if you want to.
But Tree,
everybody.
He is the best dressed guy, by the way.
He is our best dressed guy.
So where do we start, Jenna? So many stories.
We have done so many fun stories this year, but one of my personal favorites that we did that I just liked watching just as a viewer, I wasn't really a part of, was when you and Brandon were part of the salmon run at the Mariners game.
Here we go, buddy. Here we go.
Ready, and set, and go fish.
Here we go. Just pace him out.
Don't have quite the taste of last night's race.
This is not just a 2024 highlight of mine, it is an all-time favorite.
I want to take you inside the fish suits for a minute because
No, I'm not going back in one. I'm not.
they are obscenely hot. And Gard left it all on the diamond that day to the point that genuinely the folks at the Mariners were concerned about his well-being after the race.
Well, I was running up the steps after it was through, and everyone wants to high-five me. I was claustrophobic in that thing. I could not breathe. I'm not kidding. Everyone's happy. I'm struggling inside, and I can't wait to get this thing off me.
I had to take my costume off. Way too hot. I have way more respect for people who actually put these on for a living. Those guys are the real pros.
Well, I'll tell you about an experience. Georgetown Morgue. Brandon and I did that this year for spooky season. Do I regret it? Not fully. Was it insane? Yes.
You gotta go! Hey! Hey!
I was a shell of myself when I came out of that morgue. I fell. I was pushing Brandon out of the way. His GoPro got moved because I was like, move.
Go! You were like a freight train picking up steam, and about halfway through, you were just gone. I was left alone, I was confused, I was scared, it was dark. Yes, we are two scaredy cats, and we just survived, barely, the Georgetown morgue.
Speaking of giving it all on our shoots, there was one that Brandon took me on that I really didn't expect what we were gonna get into.
I decided that I would like to rappel down a waterfall, and there's an awesome outfit, Wild Sky Adventure Guides, that does this. I had assured you that you wouldn't have to do a lot of hiking or get in the water, and I was wrong.
You're gonna let out rope and move this way slightly. A little more. Perfect. Let out rope. Step down with your left foot. Good job. Big step with your left foot. There you go. Now you see how it moved you in direction. Yeah. Good job. Keep going for it. Straight down now.
Yeah.
So we meet up with our guide in Snoqualmie. He's like, all right, we're gonna go on a hike. It's about a half-hour drive. Get to the location and it's, what, 2 miles or so? Uphill?
2 miles, 2.5, with all the camera gear that culminates in Megan having to wear a wetsuit and literally ford a river to get the shot that she needed. And I tell you what, turned out awesome.
And it was really awesome to see you climb down the waterfall, have that big, ecstatic feeling at the end. And I did not fall in the water. The camera was fine. It was all good.
Talk about water and extreme. Try getting into 40-degree water in the middle of winter.
2, 1. Woo-hoo.
I would describe the water. It's very cold. Vaughn Sauna is Washington's first floating sauna. It's off of Carillon Point in Kirkland, and we literally did this on the coldest day of the year. We're walking in at 7 a.m., ice on the ground, 26 degrees outside, and David, who's the owner, goes, yeah, water temp's gonna be about 40, and it was real cold.
3, 2, 1.
Music was also a big part of 2024 for Seattle Refined, and you went down to the symphony and had an incredible time.
It was one of those stories that took me 6-7 months to put together, and it was honestly a highlight for me personally. I got to conduct part of the symphony, conduct in quotes.
Okay, all right, I felt it. I was a little dialed in on the tempo, but I appreciated the slowdown.
And it's not just like you have a stick there and tell the violins to go or whatever. It's really deep, isn't it?
It's so cool. I got to hang out with one of the conductors, the assistant conductor of the symphony. She has a master's degree in music. She's an expert violinist and then became a conductor. So it is very involved, as I found out.
Speaking of music, I was watching the Kelly Clarkson show. This kid, Vox, was one of her guests. I immediately messaged Jenna. She hopped on it right away. I said, we have to get this kid on the show. I think within an hour, she was already setting up the story and talking to his family.
Say hi to Vox, who watches on Como 4 TV in Seattle. What's up, Vox?
So I started playing guitar when I was 7 years old, and the first song I learned was Iron Man by Black Sabbath, and it made me love metal and guitar.
Vox is basically a metal hard rocker, but he plays the guitar. He's a 10-year-old from Seattle, and he even has one of the guys from Megadeth as his mentor, and we've got to interview him. But what was crazy about it is it wasn't just playing guitar that he's so talented. Music in general, this kid was almost like a prodigy.
Ty Huffer, our photographer, shot that story, and I remember both getting in the car after the shoot, and we both looked at each other and said, oh my gosh, this kid's amazing.
Yeah, he's freak show. I freaking love that kid. Follow him on Instagram, he follows me back. Good stuff.
So one of my favorite stories we covered this year was Little Tiger's Ice Cream Shop, and I figured it was about ice cream and a cute shop, and it is. But the cherry on top for me is the owner's journey of resilience, the power of community. It is such a sweet story all around.
And 4 neighbors came in and said, how much do you need? And I said, about $20,000. And they sat there right then and wrote 4 checks for $5,000 apiece and said, Rich, get this store open. I cried. I mean, yeah, it was awesome.
And those are the stories that we love. So if you are in Lake City Way, stop by Little Tiger Ice Cream and give that place some support, because they deserve it, and he deserves it.
And it really gives you hope of mankind when
Yeah.
people step up like that. And I remember talking to him, and he got so emotional about it, and I got emotional, and it was just Megan got emotional, who shot the story, and it was just fabulous ending.
But how was the ice cream?
Incredible.
Love it.
Oh man, I like that one.
This is your pride and joy here.
Absolutely.
Look at this. Speaking of sweet stories, how about the one up in Everett with the snack museum? I remember walking up down this grungy alley. We get to this kind of storage unit, and there's like, boom, everybody's socks are just completely knocked off.
Wow, and then when did this whole thing start, and why'd you come up with this idea?
Well, it started about 2 or 3 years ago, and I started it because I'm just a big lover of snacks, and I just love collecting stuff, so I decided to put 2 and 2 together and go crazy with it.
Yeah, this guy has an amazing collection of collectible snacks. He doesn't eat them, he doesn't open them, they're collector's items, and he's only open on Sundays if you want to check it out for a few hours. But it's the most bizarre snack stuff.
But cool. It was
very cool, but very, very unique stuff. It was very impressive.
Go Dogs! My love for the University of Washington and for vintage sports gear. It was just kind of a match made in heaven.
Speaking of cool collections, how about that Husky throwback story?
And you know what I really love about that story is that the Coug had to intro the story, and you're a Coug, and you're a Coug, and we got to talk Huskies right now. And what's really neat is he has a team of guys all over the state that go to garage sales, they go to thrift stores, and they grab all this Husky gear and they bring it to him, and they make a little bit of money, and he makes a little bit of money, and so it's a win-win for everybody.
I got this at an estate sale. The lady's father was a season ticket holder for 2-3 decades, and this is sort of just his collection from over the years.
And those vintage clothes are really in right now. Speaking of another place that has some really cool vintage throwback sports gear was Simply Seattle in downtown Seattle.
Yeah, this is a shoot I got to do with Tyra Majors. It was so much fun. I love doing things with her like this. Fashion is something that we both love. So like you said, those vintage styles, so many of those, but one of our favorites were these giant blue and green overalls that we wore with these big bucket hats, like oversized. They weren't just big, like massive. We got to strut down the runway and just have some fun with that. So it was a blast.
Go Hawks!
This special Seattle Refined is just getting started. Coming up, from vintage campers to a popular roadside attraction, we chat about our favorite refined adventures of 2024. Plus,
let's have a duck gizzard.
Kind of chewy texture.
Kind of chewy.
A list of our favorite and not so favorite eats on Seattle Refined. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to a special edition of Seattle Refined. We are counting down some of our favorite stories of 2024, and when you think of our show, you have to think of adventure. And when you think of adventure, you have to think of this guy right here. Brandon, we said a little bit earlier in the show, you kind of do it all. You're not scared of anything.
I'm not, I'll go anywhere, do just about anything for this show, and that includes taking a trip, one that I've wanted to do for years now, to Orcas Island. Ty and I packed as much as we could into 24 hours on the island, but the most memorable moment for me was this sea kayaking trip I took, 7 a.m., and it was one of those days where when you got out on the water, you just knew we hit it perfectly. I just want to take a minute for how absolutely gorgeous this morning is. This is like a postcard come to life being out on the water. Ty, we did so much during that trip, man. What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was realizing I actually truly love pottery. I have no idea. I just had to see the right kind of pottery, I guess.
Yeah, that was a real highlight. We visited Valery Alexandrov at Forest Ceramic Company. They are nationally known. I'm talking about over 500,000 followers on Instagram. They've done stuff for Gigi Hadid, a bunch of other celebrities, and they are incredible.
And speaking of Northwest Adventures, you kind of have more of the higher end, the Outlook Inn on Orcas Island. And then you have a place in Federal Way, which I absolutely loved. It's called Camp Moxie Joe's. And it's a 70s style camping experience. And I think the tagline is far out, but not too far out.
It's all original interior. Nothing's been remodeled in here.
And what year is it?
It is a 1976.
You're going back some time there.
Yeah.
This is 70 stuff.
Right?
And it's legit 1970s trailers, RVs, and you can rent them out. And I'm talking the green, yellow colors.
Yeah.
It's all like authentic.
It's pretty groovy.
Speaking of getting out and about outside of Seattle, Espresso Chalet that Brandon and Ty shot this year, it is a must-stop spot.
This is one of those places that's had a second life thanks to TikTok and Instagram. It is like a viral sensation, but the coolest part of Espresso Chalet is the owner, Mark Klein. He's like the most interesting man in the world. This guy has had all sorts of jobs. He worked for the phone company. He raced downhill mountain bikes. He was a professional photographer. He was an animal control officer, and he owns this super cool espresso stand on Highway 2, like halfway up to Stevens Pass.
All these people are making it kind of hard for me to retire. I blew past retirement age because I'm having so much fun.
Does it ever get old looking at that?
No. Look at that. That doesn't get old. Enjoy your food, huh?
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another one of my favorite stories of 2024 was Brandon and Megan. They were on a shoot. They went to go film at this iconic breakfast spot in downtown Seattle called Ludi's. It was one of those places, Brandon, when you got back, you went to go just kind of film the amazing food there, and they walked out of that shoot with a completely new story.
Yeah, today is a great day. Every day is a great day.
you know, after we did the formal interview with him, I just left the microphone on him because he was so chatty and getting him working around the restaurant. And then all of a sudden, he's telling a story to all the other patrons at the restaurant and just really relating to people and sharing his wisdom. It was a really, really nice piece.
I didn't have the best childhood, but I can tell my story. I felt like I'm different, but then at the end of my life, I feel like I make a difference.
And you learn that there is more to this place than just the food. There's a reason that folks come back, and it's for Greg. It's for the owner.
Definitely.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to a special edition of Seattle Refined. We have been counting down the coolest stories we have done in 2024. Now, if you watch this show, you know that we absolutely love food. And one of our experts, of course, is this dude right here. And Brandon, you do a lot of eating on this show.
I do a lot of good eating. Somebody's got to do it. It is me. And this year I kind of got on a heater and wanted to go to some Seattle classics. So we ended up at Best Cafe, new ownership, but still the same kind of great vibe right there on Aurora that everybody's come to expect. And then the Malt Bee Cafe, which is a classic for a reason. I'd never had their famous cinnamon rolls, and let me tell you, worth a visit just for those.
Oh my gosh. And I took the world's biggest bite. Here we go.
There was a baby in the restaurant, and they were taking photos of the baby next to the cinnamon roll. It was the same size.
I also did some good eating on this show. And by the way, Jenna will throw me a crumb every once in a while. Now, we know Brandon will do a lot of food stories, but I went down to Burien to treat cookies, and let me tell you, these cookies were fabulous. I sat with the owner, we made cookies, and then we just devoured them. And they had everything from fudge to sugar cookies, sprinkles all over them. And Jenna, you know me and cookies, I'll eat them up.
Oreo cookies, we're double stuffed. We're feeling good, aren't we?
Can't lose.
Then Chelsea, give it here. You are one smart cookie, girl.
And if we're talking about food, I have to bring up a hot pot spot in Bellevue where I ate the most unique dish of the year, duck gizzards. But this place really has made a name for itself because they will serve you a Lady Gaga inspired hot pot feast.
So how were those duck gizzards?
Not gonna lie, a little chewy, but the broth was so good, I honestly could have put my shoe in there and it would have tasted all right.
And not just food, Brandon took a big swing at sports this year.
Brandon Burnstead will lead it off, making his AWA debut. That ball is hit in the air.
One of my favorite spots was AWA Wiffle Ball. It's literally a wiffle ball league based out of this guy Jack's parents' backyard, and they've got a full setup. They broadcast their games live online. They've actually been broadcast on ESPN2.
You did hit a home run that day, didn't you?
I did hit a home run.
That ball is going back, and that's out of here. Solo home run.
Seattle Refined will be right back after this. Welcome back to Seattle Refined. We are wrapping up our special show, and we've shown so much today. What else do we have, Jenna?
We have covered a lot so far. What people may not know is we have a huge digital footprint on Seattle Refined when it comes to TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And we've had some viral moments this year, and that's all to Jen and Abby, our digital team, who's amazing.
Hi guys, it's Abby with Seattle Refined, and I went to D4 season in Shoreline. A new Seahawks season means new food at Lumen Field, and we got a first look at all the new offerings for this year. Hi guys, it's Abby with Seattle Refined.
Going out and about in Seattle and making these videos for Instagram and TikTok is definitely the highlight of my job. I love showcasing the good restaurants, the fun things to do, the concerts, hidden gems, all the above. And if you're not following us on TikTok, I don't know what you're doing.
So we've covered a lot today, and everything we've talked about you can find on SeattleRefined.com. But one of our favorite photo galleries of the year is the Diaper Derby at Emerald Downs. It's a crawling race, and baby Rosie Perez from Renton was the winner. She crawled to victory to her favorite person, Grandpa, at the finish line. And there was no second or third place because they got distracted.
All right, that's going to do it for today's special. I had a great time. What about you guys? Oh, yeah, and we look forward to 2025. Please join us. All right, that's it for today. See you later. We'll see you next time on Seattle Refined. Bye.